Excerpt from a local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer is still at large. After weeks of unexplained murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. "I had a bad dream and I woke up in the middle of the night," says the boy. "I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it, after I crawled under my covers and tried to get back to sleep. I had a weird feeling like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, I could see between my curtains were a pair of eyes. They weren't normal eyes, they were dark eyes. They were bordered in black and they terrified me. And I saw his mouth, a long, horrendous smile, and it made all the hair on my body stand up. He just stood there watching me, and after what seemed like forever, he said it. Sounded crazy. He said, 'Go to sleep,' and I screamed, and that's what sent him at me. He pulled up a knife, aiming at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him back, and I kicked and I punched and I rolled around trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad busted in. The man threw the knife and it went in my dad's shoulder. He probably would have killed him if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove in the parking lot and ran towards the door, and he turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash, like glass breaking, and I came out of my room and I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house, and it was broken. I looked out it, and I saw him vanish in the distance. I can tell you one thing, I'll never forget what he looked like. Those cold eyes, he looked evil, and it'll never leave my head." Police are still on the lookout for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in this story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain, though. After a new, better house, what was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and to introduce my son." She turned around and called her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter and our two sons, Jeff and Lou." They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family were done packing, Jeff went up to his mom. "Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid." "Jeff," said his mother, "we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend some time with our neighbors. Now, we're going to that party, and that's final." Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there looking at the ceiling when suddenly he got a weird feeling. Not so much pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it as just something random and heard his mother call him down to get his stuff, and he walked down to get it. The next day, Jeff went downstairs to get breakfast and get ready for school. As he sat there eating, he once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain, but once again he dismissed it. As he and Lou finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat waiting for the bus when all of a sudden some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped back in surprise. "Hey, what the hell?" The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked the skateboard up and caught it in his hands. He seemed to be maybe 12, 1 year younger than Jack. He wore an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. Well, looks like we got some new meat. Suddenly, two other kids appeared. One was pretty skinny, but the other was huge. "Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there's Keith." Jeff and Lou looked over to the skinny kid. He had a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. "And he's Troy." They looked over at the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. "And I," said the first kid, "am Randy. Now, for all the kids in this neighborhood, there's a small price for bus fare, if you catch my drift." Lou stood up, ready to punch the lights out of this kid's eyes, when one of his friends pulled a knife on him. "Tisk, tisk, tisk. I had hoped you would be more cooperative, but seems we have to do this the hard way." The kid walked up to Lou and snatched his wallet out of his pocket, and Jeff got that feeling again. Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation. He stood up, but Lou gestured him to sit back down. Jeff only ignored him and walked up to the kid. Listen here, you little punk. Give back my bro's wallet or else. Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his own knife. Oh, and what will you do? Just as he finished the sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed his wrist and broke it. Randy screamed when Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed towards him, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed out at him, but Jeff ducked, stabbed him in the arm, and Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't even need the knife. He just punched Troy straight in the stomach, and Troy went down. As he fell, he vomited, and Lou could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. Jeff, how'd you... It was all he said. They saw the bus coming and knew they'd be blamed for the whole thing, so they took off as fast as they could. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Lou made it to school, they didn't dare tell what happened. All they did was sit and listen. Lou thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was, the urge to just hurt something. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help feeling happy. He felt that strange feeling go away, and it stayed away for the entire day of school. Even as he walked home, due to the whole thing near the bus stop, and how he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore, he felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was, and he said in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." The next morning, he heard a knock at his door and went down to find 2 police officers there, his mother looking back at him angrily. "Jeff, these officers told me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't a regular fight, and they were stabbed." "Stabbed, Jeff?" Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knives on me and Lou." "Son," said one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed and 1 with a horrible bruise on his stomach. We have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. He could say that him and Lou had been attacked, but there was no proof that it wasn't them who'd attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing because the truth was they were, so Jeff really couldn't defend himself or Lou. "Son, call down your brother." Jeff couldn't do it since it was he who beat up all those kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat them up. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me." The cop looked at his partner, and they both nod. "Oh, kid, that looks like a year in juvie." "Wait," said Lou. As they all looked up to see him holding a knife, the officers pulled their guns and pointed them at him. "It was me. I beat up those little punks. I have the marks to prove it." He lifted up his sleeve to reveal some cuts and bruises, as if he was in a struggle. "Son, just put the knife down," said the officer. Lou held up the knife and dropped it on the ground. Then he put his hands up and walked over to the cops. "No, Lou, it was me. I did it." Jeff had tears running down his face. Poor bro. Trying to take away the blame for what I did. Well, take me away." The police led Lou out to the patrol car. "Lou, tell them it was me. Tell them. I was the one who beat them up." Jeff's mother put her hand on his shoulder. "Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it was Lou. You can stop." Jeff watched helplessly as the cop car sped off with Lou inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad was pulling up into the driveway, and seeing Jeff's face, he knew something was wrong. "What is it?" Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying. Instead, his mother walked his father inside to break the bad news to him as Jeff wept in the driveway. After an hour or so, Jeff went back into the house, seeing that his parents were both so shocked, sad, and disappointed. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't see how they thought of Lou when it was his fault. He just went to bed, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. 2 days went by and no word from Lou. No friends to hang out with, nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday, when Jeff was woken by his mother with a happy, sunshiny face. "Jeff, it's the day," she said as she opened up the curtains and let light flood into his room. What's today?" asked Jeff as he stirs awake. "Well, it's Billy's party." He was now fully awake. "Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after..." There was a long pause. "Jeff, we both know what happened, but I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past days. Now, get dressed." Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get ready herself. He found himself to get up and picked out a random shirt and pair of jeans and walked downstairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up, his mom in a dress and his dad in a suit. He thought, why would they ever wear such fancy clothes to a kid's party? "Son, is that all you're gonna wear?" said Jeff's dad. "Better than wearing too much," he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile as best she could. "Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression," she said. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. "I don't have any fancy clothes," he yelled downstairs. "Just pick something out," called his mother. He looked around in the closet for what he would call fancy and found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. Couldn't find a shirt to go with it, though. He looked around and found only striped and patterned shirts, none of which go with his dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and pulled that on instead. "You're wearing that?" both his parents said. His mother looked at her watch. "Oh, no time to change. Let's just go," she said as she herded Jeff and his father out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house, knocked on the door, and it appeared that Barbara, just like his parents, was way overdressed. As they walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults, no kids. "The kids are out in the yard, Jeff. How about you go and meet some of them?" said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid came up to him and handed him a toy gun and hat. "Hey, want to play?" he asked. No, kid, I'm way too old for this stuff." The kid looked at him with that weird puppy dog face. "Please?" said the kid. "Fine," said Jeff. He put on the hat and started to pretend to shoot at the kids. At first, he thought it was totally ridiculous, but then he started to actually have fun. It might not have been super cool, but it was the first time he'd done something to take his mind off of Lou, so he played with the kids for a while until he heard a noise, a weird rolling noise, and then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith all jumped over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat, and Randy looked at Jeff with burning hatred. "Hello, Jeff, is it?" he said. "We have some unfinished business." Jeff saw his bruised nose. "I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you, and you get my brother sent off to juvie." Randy got an angry look at his eyes. "Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today." As he said that, Randy rushed at Jeff, and they both fell to the ground. Randy punched Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears for a headbutt. He pushed Randy off of him, and they both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming, and parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pulled guns out from their waistbands. "No one interrupts or guts will fly," they said. Randy pulled a knife on Jeff and stabbed it into his shoulder. He screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him as hard as he could. After 3 kicks, Jeff got a hold of his foot and twisted it, making Randy fall to the ground. He stood up and walked towards the back door, but Troy grabbed him. "Need some help?" He picked Jeff up by the back of the collar and threw him through the patio door. As Jeff tried to stand, he was kicked down to the ground, and Randy started kicking him repeatedly until he was coughing up blood. "Come on, Jeff, fight me." He picked Jeff up and threw him into the kitchen. Randy spotted a bottle of vodka and smashed it over his head. "Fight." He threw Jeff back into the living room. "Come on, Jeff, look at me." Jeff glanced up, his face now riddled with blood. "I was the one who got your brother sent to juvie, and you're just gonna sit here and let him rot for the whole year? You should be ashamed." Jeff started to get back up. Finally you stand and fight. Jeff was now on his feet, blood and vodka streaming down his face. Once again, he got that strange feeling, one which he hasn't felt for a while. "Finally, he's up," said Randy and yelled at Jeff. That's when it happened. Something inside of him snapped. Psyche destroyed, all rational thinking gone. All he can do is kill. He grabbed Randy and drove him to the ground, getting on top of him and punching him straight in the heart. Punch stopped it completely as Randy gasped for breath, Jeff hammering down on him, punch after punch, blood gushing until he took one final breath, dying. Everyone was looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they could easily break their gaze and point their guns at Jeff, he seized the gun trains on him and ran for the stairs. As he ran, they both tried to shoot, but each shot missed. Jeff sprinted upstairs as fast as he could, hearing Troy and Keith following behind. As they let out their final spray of bullets, he ducked into the bathroom, grabbing a towel off the rack and ripping it right off the wall. Troy and Keith race in, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backed away, banging the towel rack into Troy's face. He went down hard. All that's left is Keith. He's more agile than Troy, though, ducking when Jeff swings the towel rack. Dropped the knife and grabbed Jeff by the neck, pushing him onto the wall. A bottle of bleach fell down on top of him from the front shelf, burning both of them. He started to scream, Jeff wiping his eyes as best as he could. He pulled back the towel rack and swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lay there, bleeding to death, he let out an ominous smile. "What's so funny?" asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on. "What's funny," he said, "is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol." Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw the lighter at him. As soon as the flames made contact with him, they ignited the alcohol. Well, the alcohol burned him, the bleach burned his skin, and Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol made him into a walking inferno. He ran down the hall, tumbling down the stairs. Everybody started screaming when they saw him, now on fire, dropped to the ground, nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and the other parents trying to extinguish the flames before he passed out. When he woke, he had a cast wrapped around his face, and he couldn't see anything, but could feel a cast on his shoulders, stitches all over his body. He tried to stand, but realized there was tubing in his arm, and when he tried to get up, it fell out, and a nurse rushed in. "I don't think you can get out of bed just yet," she said as she put him back in his bed and put the tube back. Jeff sat there, no vision, no idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after what felt like hours, he heard his mom. "Honey, are you okay?" she asked. Jeff couldn't answer, though. His face was covered and he couldn't speak. "Oh, honey, I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go." This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the stitches in the tube. "He'll be out by tomorrow, and then you two will be able to be together again." Jeff's mother hugged him, said her goodbyes, and the next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family members were all there to see it, what he would look like now. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage holding the cover over his face was almost removed. "Let's hope for the best," said the doctor. He quickly pulled the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screamed at the sight. Lou and Jeff's dad were awestruck at his face. What happened?" Jeff asked. He rushed out of bed and ran to the bathroom, looking in the mirror, and saw the cause of his distress. His face, it's horrible. His lips were burnt into a deep shade of red, face turned a pure white color, hair singed from brown to black. As he slowly put his hand up, it found his skin had a sort of leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family and then back at the mirror. "Jeff," said Lou, "it's not that bad." "Not that bad," said Jeff. It's perfect." His family was equally surprised as Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. They noticed his left eye and hand were twitching. "Jeff, are you okay?" "Okay. I've never felt more happy." "Look at me. This face goes perfectly with me." He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at the mirror. What caused this? Well, you may recall when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind snapped, and now he was left a crazy killing machine that his parents didn't know. "Doctor," said Jeff's mom, "is my son all right?" "Oh yes, this behavior is typical for patients that have taken very large amounts of painkillers. If he doesn't change within a few weeks, bring him back here, we'll give him some tests." "All right, thank you, doctor." Jeff's mother went over to Jeff. "Honey, it's time to go." Jeff looked away from the mirror, his face still formed into a crazed smile. "All right." His mother took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes. "This is what came in," said the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked to see the black dress pants and white hoodie his son wore. They were now clean of blood and somewhat stitched together. Jeff's mother led him to the room and had him put his clothes back on. Then they left, not knowing this was the final day of their life. Later that night, Jeff's mother woke to a sound coming from the bathroom. It sounded like someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was, and when she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife, carving a smile into his cheeks. "Jeff, what are you doing?" asked his mother. He looked over at her. "I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now I can smile forever." Jeff's mother's noticed his eyes ringed in black. "Jeff, your eyes!" They were seemingly never closing. "I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned out the eyelids so I could forever see myself, my new face." Jeff's mother started to slowly back away, seeing that her son was about insane. "What's wrong, Mom? Aren't I beautiful?" "Yes, son, yes, you are. Let me go get Dad so he can see your face." She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad from his sleep. "Honey, get the gun, She stopped when she saw Jeff in the doorway holding a knife. "You lied." That's the last thing they hear as Jeff rushes them with the knife, gutting both of them. His brother Lou woke up, startled by the noise. He didn't hear anything else, so he shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep, but as he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up before Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Lou. Lou thrashed here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. "Shh," Jeff said. "Just go to sleep."